is the magma is moving, okay, and it expands and blows out through volcano. We have volcanism, okay.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, what's causing that increased pressure? It has to be that the magma is corroding the iron core. You follow me? From heat and friction.
Well,
and it's so it expands and it has to be released and it goes.
we have the sun. The sun produces a solar wind, and the solar wind comes from coronal holes, or the coronal hole streams.
But our
and that's a
magnetosphere
pressure.
protects us from that.
It protects us from it. It protects us from rays, but it doesn't protect the Earth from changes in pressure. And you know how if you have a magnet here and a magnet here and you push on it,
True.
and it pushes your hand, the Earth is affected by changes
I hadn't
in the
thought
pressure,
about the pressure from
and
the
it's
sun.
an oscillator, and it works to oscillate.
I thought maybe the magma was causing it, but you may be right.
It's
It
a
might
wind
be.
velocity. Think about sticking your hand out of the window when you're going 25 miles an hour and when you're going 55 miles an hour, and there's a difference in pressure. And so the Earth's magnetic field protects us from that stream, but it operates on the Earth in terms of adding energy to that inner system. However we conceive of it, there's a feedback loop there between the sun impacting the Earth and the Earth physically absorbing the energy of that. And it comes in potentially mostly as the magnetic field lines being impacted. But just like if you have a magnet here and a magnet here, two norths, and you push it, you feel that they move apart. And I think there is a mechanism there. So the sun has been in a period of relative calm. You know, like but I don't think that's true with respect to coronal hole streaming. That's true with respect to coronal mass ejections from solar flares. Okay, the sun's been very quiet as a flare generator, but it hasn't necessarily been quiet as a coronal hole stream solar wind generator. And that's where, if the solar wind variability is going to be potentially impacting volcanism, like, we should see how that relationship actually works. I think there's like a
I was trying to figure out what the relationship is between that concept that I was having and any effect it's having on the magnetosphere too. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because we're getting electricity coming up, as well as, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
not just generated from the atmosphere, but it comes out of the Earth.
Oh no, yeah, it comes out. It emanates from the Earth, and then the solar wind impacts it by hitting it.
The electricity shoots straight out into space.
Yes.
You know, 20, 30, 40 miles in height, just huge spikes of electricity shooting up. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's not.
Yeah, the sun must have an influence on the Earth's core somehow. The Earth's core obviously have an influence on how protective our magnetic field, which you just talked about, which protects us from the solar flares. So it's all interconnected here.
And I think that
what drives the Earth's core is still a mystery for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's still an open question. I mean, there are equally valid but incommensurate systems to explain what's going on. Well, you can use acoustic energy alone to create a hole.
One of the big problems, though, is we know that we're having this magnetic shift. And so if we're going to go, North Pole is going to shift to south. It's done it in the past. They found geological evidence that it's happened before.
They're just debating on how long it takes. Right. And it could take a long time.
Well, right. But the main thing is they do know that when it does take place, there are holes in the magnetosphere while it's making it shift. When that happens, then the tremendous amount of X-rays and stuff penetrate to hit the human physical body.
These could be periods where we see cataclysms.
And we're going to have huge increases in cancer. I mean, it may get to the point where people are going to have spacesuits to go outside because it's going to get so
bad. Major impact on fertility. Well, there are major cycles of the sun and cycles of fertility that have been discovered. This could be tied to that.
It's going to be a mess, man.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I think they already know. I wish I could remember the name of the spot that's out in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Brazil, but that's another area where they see a massive amount of cosmic radiation streaming from the sun, ordinarily harmful to life as we know it.
But as this polar shift takes place, these open holes shift.
Yeah, right. And they also have like particle detectors that they deploy where they see an increase in gamma radiation and X-ray radiation and other types of radiation that don't normally penetrate. So the British Geological Society has been calling for a lot more active effort on worldwide monitoring of these holes, because it's like, hey man, this is real. We now have to be mature enough as a species to understand that the systems we've built are sensitive to changes in this fabric, and that like we have to like figure out how we're going to address that and deal with it as a species. But I think a lot of, science doesn't want to treat things that it can't prove are imminent.